Welcome back. This is Minda Wilson with Urgent Care, and I'm very excited today to have my guest, Frank Shamrock. He is a professional wrestler. He's an advocate for the use of medical marijuana, and he has a new show that is really important for people to watch who are interested in improving their health and reducing their pain, and it's called Bake Out TV. Frank, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me.
I've followed your career as a wrestler, and now you're into TV. And I'd like to learn a little bit about how you made the journey from sports to medical marijuana.
Sure. Well, it was a long journey, but actually, I was diagnosed with a broken back when I was 16, and they told me at the time I needed to, maintain this pain and sort of control it for the rest of my life. And my doctor was like, you need to be very careful because, Western medicine is all, pain addictive medicines, and you got to kind of manage it. So I have just been dealing with pain for 25 plus years. And I went through my whole sports career dealing with the pain. I felt pretty bad about the cannabis use, but along the way I became a sports broadcaster, and I became a spokesman, and I filled all the roles necessary to help move our sport to network television. But it's come full circle, and I'm using my skill on television to help educate the masses about cannabis and its uses.
So you've been using it since you were a teenager, and you've seen changes in not only the legal landscape, but the level of acceptance for cannabis use since you've been involved with it. Is that correct?
Oh, absolutely. It's gone night and day in social acceptance and public acceptance. And then also, as a business, it's also taken off financially.
So when you talk about the acceptance of cannabis, does this mean that were you able to come out of the closet and said, oh, yes, I do it?
Well, I actually... I told my doctors, of course, and my family knew, and everybody in our community, was aware of it. But I didn't speak publicly about it until actually Prop 64 passed here in California. That was sort of the social lever, here in California, and with, my brand and what I wanted to do for the space. That was sort of the right timing for me because it's legal and everybody seems to want to talk about it.
So now that you've launched this TV show, can you tell us a little bit about that and what your goals for the show are?
Sure. Well, the show it came out of the need to reach more people, educate them faster, and the fact that we were learning as much as everybody else, as fast as everybody else. So as Robert and I started talking about nutrition and, how we're going to protect people as they consume this, and the show idea came up because we have very different opinions, Robert and I. He's a nutritionalist, he's PhD educated, dietitian, and he has very certain beliefs about what you should consume, drugs, medicines, and of course I have my own. So it really was just a debate that has now moved on to television. The beauty of it is the whole community has gathered behind us, cannabis community, patients in need of medicines, alternative medicines, and then as well the elderly community, because they're first now realizing, wait a minute, we were told something different. This is actually a better medicine for our pain, for our discomfort, for our inflammation.
So when you started approaching these elderly, were these people that were around during the 60s? Were they acquainted with marijuana, or was it something that was new to them that you're trying to get them to adopt?
Well, most people were very aware with it, especially of that generation, that age. We're talking 50 plus. And they have a very strong opinion about it. And a lot of that is what was told to them, marketed through them. My parents sat me down and had the, marijuana talk with me.
The reefer madness talk.
Yeah, we were told a lot of stuff. I was told I lived, in a small town, and, I consumed what they told me. But what we're finding out and what the facts are is, the facts have proven this is not an addictive drug like the other prescriptions that are being handed out. And there's just, the young generation, the older generation are really embracing this because just through trial and error, they're realizing, gosh, I feel so much better and I'm healing on these natural drugs and herbs and medicines. And on the other, I just don't feel the pain, but I'm not getting any better.
So you're seeing that medical marijuana is really helping senior citizens deal with not just chronic pain, but other health issues as well. Is that correct?
Totally. Yeah. Sleep, migraines. We're seeing the studies come out now about the effects of this on Alzheimer's. You know, our federal government owns a patent on cannabis as a neuroprotectant, meaning our government says it will help the brain of elderly people, but the government also says it's illegal and you can't have it. So, you know, we're finally realizing that, wait a minute, this is a plant that's been growing here for a millennia. You know, pages of the Bible were written on this. And now it's all of a sudden becoming illegal. Why? Because it's a better alternative to a lot of the other stuff out there.
So much like the government, right? Anything that's good for you, oh no, you can't have it. And anything that's bad for you, they're like, oh, have more. So my question. What were you saying?
I was going to say it comes down to money, sadly, you know, and it's people's personal rights that are being lost. And the beauty of it is in this country, you can stand up for that, but you got to get a voice.
But here's the thing. I mean, cannabis seems to be accepted widely. I mean, now there are publicly traded companies that are in the cannabis business. So I see the landscape is changing significantly. Don't you in that respect?
It totally is. And certain sports commissions are starting to examine it and deregulate it, allow it. You know, the Nevada Athletic Commission is sort of pushing in that direction. So yes, it's moving into social acceptance. But as long as it's federally illegal, you can't bank, you can't go over state lines. I can't send medicine to my aunts in Arizona. I'll go to jail. You know, there's all these barriers because of the federal law. And until that one moves, you know, we're doing technically something that's illegal in our country.
So Donald Trump yesterday came out and said that he would not support the legalization of marijuana. How do you see that affecting you? And do you think he'll maintain that position, or do you think he'll change it over time?
I mean, I think he'll change it over time because of the financial implications. But, you know, I think he has concerns like many, and this is certainly what the cannabis industry has been waiting to see what this administration is going to do. And all things have seemed bad, and this kind of seems bad too. But, you know, I get his position. Can't just let everyone go take this without, you know, real science and education and otherwise. But we're not going to get real science and education and otherwise until they take off the illegality in the Schedule 1. Move it to Schedule 2, like do something with it. But it's on par with heroin, you know, which means there's no medicinal value whatsoever. And everyone knows that's just a plain lie. So, you know, if the government wants to maintain our trust and support, you know, we've got to start making some movements here. And socially, people should not have to break the law to get medicine. That makes no sense whatsoever.
But they do that all the time. People go to Canada and buy medicines because they're cheaper. People go outside the United States and mail order drugs into the United States. It seems that we're economics and the inability to afford healthcare is driving people to do a lot of those kinds of behaviors.
Yeah, you know, I agree. But all that healthcare, all that stuff is caused by making money.
Yeah,
we
so
really need natural medicines and community support, and like most of this stuff, most of our social ailments and human ailments can be cured with just, you know, natural herbs and love.
So you've been a long-time user. Have you seen any long-term effects from your use of medical marijuana?
I have not, at all, in fact. And I think the common misnomer is people think I'm specifically smoking weed. And I'm not. I'm consuming it through a plant vapor, and or through a highly nutritious edible. So most of the time I don't even feel it because there's a CBD oil in there that takes my pain away.
And is that so you don't have to smoke marijuana to get the benefits of it? So the issues related to lung cancer and stuff like that are not, you can adjust it in other forms. Is that correct?
Yes, totally. Absolutely. And that's just one way and the most common and the easiest and most economical way to consume it. But there are much better ways. And yeah, I mean, that's what we talked about in the show, the cooking, the baking, they have creams now, sprays. They have so many different ways to consume this. And I think that's what America is waking up to. It's like, wait, they're not smoking weed. There's real science behind the application now. And now people are defining that science into, measurable doses of medicine.
So a lot of people are under the misconception that because it's a Schedule I drug, they're not allowed to do medical research on it. Is that true?
They can do it, but if you have a federal grant, you will not be given money. And if you are in a building or any way connected, you're doing a crime against the federal government. So they can come take anything and everything that you own. Nobody's going to invest in that or support that. It's as if you're cooking up heroin. It's literally the same as if you're cooking up, cocaine and handing it out. But it's so different. So this plant has just been vilified and attacked and repositioned to be this thing. The truth is, we've been carrying it around forever. It's completely innocuous, except for it has all these healing properties to it. And we should be examining that and not getting caught up into the getting high or smoking. And no one talks about drinking. It's perfectly commonplace to see 30, beer commercials during a football game. And, it presents it in a wonderful, comfortable, even health atmosphere. We've been conditioned to see things a certain way, and we need to open our eyes to a different way.
So what is that different way? If you ran the world, what would that way be?
Well, we should have the right as Americans to plant and harvest anything we need to survive. That's how the Native Americans survived. Mm-hmm. Why has that right been taken from us? If I need medicine, why can't I plant a cannabis plant in my backyard, harvest the medicine, and give it to my family, or my aunt, or my grandma, or my brother who's sick? This is a right. This somehow has been taken from us and monetized by giant corporations, to where we don't even see that we've lost our personal right to medicine. I don't need all these drugs to feel better. I just need to be in touch with myself, in touch with my environment, and in touch with my medicines. And Western medicine is just slapping Band-Aids on everything. Now, they can stop you from dying if you're dying. And for that, I would always, go to the doctor. But for most of this stuff, general common ailments, I don't need an addictive, painkiller to get through my knee pain. I need something naturally to mediate that, because I got to deal with that for 20 years, 30 years. And if the end result is addiction and physical demise, then it's not real medicine.
Right. You're trading one health problem for another, basically.
That's it. And we're giving all that power to the doctor. We're saying, yeah, just tell me what to take. I don't care. Hey, it stopped hurting. This is amazing. Meanwhile, you're killing your liver, like your nutrients are off, like you're totally changing your body's homeostasis. And your body can't even tell you there's something wrong, because you're taking a whole masking, killer, a painkiller. So it's just, we need to open our eyes to the fact that we control our personal medicine, we control our personal health, we control what goes in our body and around us. And if we give that away, then, America is not what it says it is if we're giving that away.
So if you were king again, what would you tell the Trump administration? What would you ask them for? Legalization? How does that affect our relationship with people outside the United States? I mean, haven't we sort of entered into these treaties and that sort of make it hard to change our position? I don't know.
We totally have. We have laid a global groundwork based on money and crime and favors and relationships and imports and exports and everything else, that we would have to unwind to do this. And, therein lies all the problems. But I mean, recreation, if you want to, consume recreationally, that's your thing. I think this is a medicine, and people need their medicine, and to deny them, is the core of the problem. If you want to go drink yourself to death, that's sad, but that's your right. You can go do that. Mm-hmm. And right now, you want to go smoke yourself to death. You can, but no one's ever died from it, so it'll take you forever. But this right.
You mean smoke marijuana, not smoke cigarettes?
For sure. Yeah, either or. You could do both. And the difference is smoking one is actually good for you and will help you. Whereas smoking cigarettes is only going to kill you. It's only a highly addictive, chemical that's going to kill you. The public education will change with things like this, the TV show, where we would literally have the upfront conversation. We put it on the table, we talk about it. And then people walk away and they go, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. And now we've got a social conversation that leads to change.
So really what you're doing is you're becoming a social advocate. You're bringing the 60s back, right? You're advocating, you're advocating for social change, and you're you're taking a symbol of that time and creating awareness about the benefits of it as opposed to the negative aspects of it.
That I am. Yeah. And who better? I've won multiple world titles and, really been a rags to riches American story that I think we could, help a lot of people with.
So a lot of people are interested in the business side of this and are concerned that by making it more popular, it'll become a business like any other. And then it'll lose its sort of like, they'll lose their access because it'll be like regulated like alcohol or cigarettes. Or how do you feel about that? Do you see that happening in the future?
I do, actually. And it was one of our, concerns and desires to enter the marketplace. Once it went legal, we're like, okay, wait, they're going to consume it anyways. Like, people are going to do this anyways. Whether we help them, whether we don't help them, this whole thing is going to happen. Mm-hmm. And one of our catalysts was, okay, if they're going to consume it, like, somebody should be helping them, because we're not smoking. We're not the 60s anymore. We got to, the technologies move forward. We have 40 years of study. That needs to be applied now, but no one knows where to get it. No one knows what it is. So, yeah, I'm very concerned about the recreational and legalization, and I didn't vote for it. Mm-hmm. Because this is medicine. If you give it to everybody, they don't know what to do with it. If you just hand it out, then I'm concerned. But as a medicine, it always should be available.
Right, and the efficacy changes when people are using it for daily use. Then the value of it as a medicine also changes.
It changes, and it's like me popping Vicodin all day because it feels good, and leading myself to addiction. And while it won't lead you to addiction, it's still. If you don't need it, there's no reason to be taking it unless you're hanging out and having fun and it's a recreational moment and you're safe. But if you're doing it all the time, and you have then you're looking at addiction, then you're looking at other concerns.
But don't you also feel that there's a certain component of psychological addiction that people worry about?
Totally. And it's totally valid. If you escape to this world or you spend all your time high, you most likely will not want to be not high. And that's the whole alcoholism, and that's why addiction is so bad. Addiction is purely defined as anything you cannot stop doing that is bad for you. So if it's bad for you, you need to stop doing it, regardless of what it is. Eating paint, drinking alcohol, consuming cannabis, it does not matter. It will catch up with you. It'll harm you if you have a problem with addiction.
But I understand that marijuana comes in different strains, and the medicinal effect of certain marijuana is beneficial for certain kinds of illnesses, and the medicinal effect of others is beneficial for other kinds of illnesses, and that some marijuanas don't even get you high. Is that true too?
Totally. Yeah, a lot of it that you're seeing out in the marketplace now with the CBD doesn't get you high at all. And there's no, you could never get high off of it. Mm-hmm. And then some of it does have some THC, because we're finding that you need some THC to make the right compound. And it really is. It comes down to strains. It comes down to compounds. It comes down to terpenes and how that plant's, compounds connect. Because when they connect right, they attack specific ailments. And that's what we're finding out now. And it's happened through trial and error. It's like, wow, I feel terrible. Try this. Nope, try that. And the industry's still there. That's why the show is so important. If you want information, you literally got to go on Facebook, ask to be like in a private group, and then read through everybody's stuff to figure out how to get your medicine. And that's just insane.
So for someone like me who doesn't really know much about it, I've heard you talk about TBD, CBD, and THC.
CBD, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And what are those, and what's the difference between them?
Well, the THC is the compound that gets you high. That's the one that's got everybody up in arms. This is the component that makes you, lightheaded, euphoric, high. And the CBD is an oil. It's a compound of it. And it is known specifically to attack cancer cells, to repair, ingestional issues like Crohn's disease. It's known specifically to go after certain cells and protect them while eradicating, not good cells or, bad cells around it. And there's just it's the thing is there's 140 compounds in this plant, all of which have life-saving and healing properties. We're focused on one, the THC, and we're worried about people getting high. And it's like, we should talk about the other 139 compounds that have healing properties that have shown over the past, hundreds of years, proof that it works.
So THC is a chemical that's in the plant, just like CBD is a chemical that's in the plant. And it's like getting it in a natural, when you get it from the plant, it's like getting it in a natural form versus a synthesized version of it that might be sold to you by a pharmaceutical company. Is that correct?
Correct. And here's the difference. Because it's a plant and because it has an endocannabinoid system, the same as a few other herbs, we have the exact same system. So see, when we take this plant, it doesn't block and kill everything and traumatize the cells in our body. It fits into our endocannabinoid system, and it begins healing and balancing our homeostasis, our natural being. The problem with Western medicine is you put it in there, and it just kills everything, eradicates everything, then it kills the feeling of it. So yes, you have stopped hurting and you feel better, but you're not actually progressing in health because you're not actually attacking the system that controls your general health and homeostasis. Whereas the cannabis plant, because of the cannabinoids and because it fits into your actual cells of your body, it heals you and helps you. And that's it's so heavy. People are like, it's just too much to think about. But when you think about where we came from, harvesting plants, natural things from our earth, capturing what was on it and eating it. And this was one of those plants and has been for thousands of years. There's a reason why our bodies accept this plant and they don't with other medicines.
Well, we used to read about in the colonial time, people selling hemp,
Yep.
So isn't that the basis of marijuana, hemp plants?
Yeah, well, they're all the same plant, all like cannabis plants. And then when you talk hemp, you're just talking about, don't worry about, the leaves or the flowers. We're just going to grow the fibrous stalk. Because the beauty of cannabis is it's industrial, it's medical, it's recreational. You can make clothing out of it. Like there's so many uses for it as an industry overall. And that's really what happened to it. Is you're talking about a burgeoning country with cotton and all these other opportunities to make money, to where the cannabis plant was easy to attack, was easy to position. And it was also attached to all the immigration. It was attached to all the social changes. So it's an easy attack. It's an easy plant to go after. No one's talking about echinacea. No one's talking about, sage and these other plants that have the same system, that have similar healing properties, but are, 100th of what cannabis is doing as a plant.
So how does a person know which kind of cannabis to buy or to purchase for them?
You got to go on a journey right now. So what's been clearly defined is certain strains and certain compounds will affect certain things. High sativa brands with, very yummy lemony terpenes are really good for anxiety and depression. And conversely, like purpley things, of deep purpley smells, those are the terpenes. Those are really good for killing pain. Those are like the indica. They'll just kill all your pain. But conversely, they'll get you really high too, depending on the strain and the variety. But each one And that's been the problem with it becoming legitimate medicine. Each plant is adjusted to its own environment. So if you feed it good, if you give it great light, it has more potency and, health. If you starve it and you hurt it, the medicine is not as strong. So it's been hard to make it, quantifiable. Every dose is the same. Many people have a different experience, and then everybody's system is different. So everyone will experience it differently. That's why you got to experiment.
So there's no homogeneity in the growing environments, and because of that, each even in the same kind of strain, each plant you get may be different than the one you had before, and it may have slightly different effects. Is that correct?
Well, the genetics stay the same. The genetics remain intact, and it's extremely hardy. But if you don't feed it, or if you don't water it well, it's just not strong. So your yield is less, plus the THC development and some of the other compounds you need, they're just not there. Now, if you could guarantee it was always going to grow, the X amount of soil or X amount of, then the plant would support that, because the plant's genetics stay the same, but the environment. So if I grow it inside, outside, different potency, different everything, and a different effect on it.
Right. So it's like my own attempts at gardening. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Yes, I have the same problem.
So in terms of your television show, what's the best way that people can reach out to you and see your show so they can learn more about this?
Yeah, it's only available online because they won't let us go on any networks. And so we're at bakeout.tv. That's our online. And then you can also launch it through the app. We have the Bakeout app, which is available in the iTunes Store and on Google Play. And then you can also, you can just get online. You can see it on any Netflix, Roku, or digital device as well.
Well, I really want to thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate your time and your interest, and I hope someday you'll come back and talk to us more about what the legal landscape is and where we are and what we can do to help support you to bring this product to more people to make them well. I think that would be great. Thank you very much. This is Minda Wilson for Urgent Care. We'll catch you next time.
You go to the doctor and get a diagnosis you didn't expect and you don't understand. If you're like so many of us, your first move is to search the internet for information on your condition. Wouldn't it be great if you could get real information? That's where MedAdvisor comes in, a completely free website that delivers the most up-to-date information from doctors, hospitals, researchers, and clinical trials worldwide. MedAdvisor is free, private, and personalized information about your specific medical condition. It's literally as simple as going to medivizor.com and signing up for free. MedAdvisor is free, easy to use, and saves you hours searching for information you can't find on your own. MedAdvisor is a private, personalized, and HIPAA-compliant resource. MedAdvisor, improving the lives of people with serious or chronic medical conditions and those who care for them. Your personalized medical information is a simple click away at medivizor.com. medivizor.com.
Hi, I'm J.K. Simmons. We all know that a good education is a stepping stone to a great career. But what kind of education do you think the men and women in our armed forces are getting? The truth is, it's an outstanding one. In the military, they gain a unique set of skills in areas like technology, engineering, planning, and communications. But more importantly, as soldiers, they develop a set of values they will carry with them for the rest of their lives, like discipline, courage, and leadership. Our veterans can provide tremendous value to the businesses that hire them. And helping a veteran find meaningful work is one of the greatest ways that you can thank them for the service they provided to our country, protecting us and our freedoms. So on behalf of the Coalition to Salute America's Heroes, I want to urge employers and businesses everywhere to hire smart and bet on a vet. To learn more, call 1-888-44-SALUTE or visit saluteheroes.org on the web.